Placebo Effect. Alright. Hey, it's your boy Martyr Sagine. I'm gonna talk about the placebo effect. Alright. You could like or dislike the video, which it don't matter to me, cause I post what I wanna post. So, I ain't deleting shit either. So like, comment, subscribe. A placebo is a substance or treatment which is designed to have a therapeutic value. Common placebos, inert tablets, inert injections, sham surgery, and other prescriptions. A placebo effect.
Placebo effect.
A beneficial effect produced by a placebo drug or treatment which cannot be attributed to the properties of the placebo itself. It must be therefore be due to the patient in that patient belief in that treatment. What is the placebo effect? A placebo, A placebo is anything seen to be a real medical treatment, but it isn't. It could be a pill, a shot, or some other type of fake treatment. What all placebos have common, that is, they do not contain active substance meant to affect health. How are placebos used? During study, to help them understand what effect a new drug or some other treatment might have a particular condition. For instance, some people in a study might be given a new drug to lower cholesterol. Others will get a placebo. None of the people in the study will know if they got the real treatment or the placebo. Researchers then compared the effects of the drugs and placebo on the people in the study. That way, they could determine the effectiveness of the new drug and check for a side effects. What is the placebo effect? Sometimes a person have a response to a placebo. The response can be positive or negative. For instance, the person's symptoms may improve, or the person may have what appears to be side effects from the treatment. These responses, known as the placebo effect. These are conditions. There are some conditions in which a placebo can produce results when people know they are taking placebo. Study shows that placebos can have effect on conditions such as depression, pain, sleep disorder, irritable bowel syndrome, menopause, and one study involved Um,
With no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, banking with Capital One is like the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like...
I think I'll go with a cardigan.
That's banking reimagined.
So a placebo is an inert substance that has no pharmacologic or medical action. So a placebo effect is the pharmacologic or the beneficial effect that a patient gets from getting that inert substance. And it's generally based upon a patient's beliefs. It's based upon the idea that a patient believes that they're going to get an effect from this substance, even though, again, it has no actual pharmacologic action. What are the brain regions that are thought to be responsible for placebo? Well, it just so happens we have a brain. So if we cut off the brain, we cut open the brain and look at the side, we see that there's this area of the brain called the cingulate cortex. And this anterior portion here is called the anterior cingulate cortex. And this is an area that's heavily involved with both the placebo response and also with pain itself, with the experience of pain. There's another area here a little bit deeper called the thalamus that's also involved with the placebo response and pain. This is the relay station of the brain. This is an area that takes incoming signals in from the rest of our body and then sends them off into other parts of the brain to be processed and ultimately generate our experience. We know that the placebo response involves some of these frontal regions of the brain. These are the areas of the brain that are involved with executive functioning and thought and memory that all work to set up these expectations that ultimately modulate our experience of pain in some of these deeper brain regions. So all of these end up working together. These and other regions end up working together to generate both our experience of pain and also are acted upon by that placebo effect. Let me show you the example of one subject that we scanned some time ago who gives a nice illustration of the placebo response. This was a young man who had a terrible rollover crush injury of his left upper extremity while he was on safari away from college one summer. He ended up having terrible burning pain in that arm. We brought him into the scanner and we found that when we stroked a particular area of his hand and his arm, he had terrible burning pain in that part of his hand and his arm. And this was represented by this area, by these slides here, which show increase in activity in all the areas of the brain involved with the processing and perception of pain. Now, we had an IV in this young man, and we told him that we were going to start a very powerful pain-relieving medication. And so we did that. And what we found is that his pain went down. He had a dramatic reduction in his pain. It went from, instead of a 7 out of 10, where 0 is no pain and 10 is the worst imaginable, it went from that 7 out of 10 down to a 3 out of 10. And what we found is that, similarly, his brain activity went down as well. Significantly less activity in the brain in all of the areas involved with the processing and perception of pain. But what did we actually give him? Well, it turns out we gave him placebo. We hadn't actually started the active medication yet. When we actually gave him the medication, we found that there was even more reductions in his pain overall, and similarly, even greater reductions in his brain activity, suggesting that while placebo had a direct action on his brain, the active agent, the pharmacologic agent itself, had even more of an action on it. What does this ultimately mean? Well, what this ultimately means is, first and foremost, pain, as we all know, really lies within the brain. But we also see that the placebo response itself lies within the brain, that it's a very real phenomenon, that patients are not faking it, that they're not making it up, and that their beliefs can have a huge impact on not only their pain, but we can actually see that impact within the living brain itself.
stop right there. If you're a mortgage holder, I'm going to show you one simple trick that'll pay your home off in 5 to 7 years on your current level of income. I've got way...
This episode is sponsored by Dropbox. Hello, I'm Dr. Joseph Hansen, PhD. The following video about placebos has been scientifically proven to cure viewers of boredom, fatigue, dad bod, Star Wars overhype, chronic back pain, and a host of other common ailments. Now, open wide, it's time for science. On the North African battlefields of World War II, wounded soldiers were plentiful, but morphine was often scarce. Army doctor Henry Beecher needed to operate on an injured soldier, but had no drugs to give him for the pain. A desperate nurse grabbed a vial of salt water, filled a syringe, and miraculously, the soldier's pain went away. When Henry Beecher returned to Harvard University after the war, he found that a range of ailments, from gunshot wounds to the common cold, could be treated with fake medicine. It's known as the placebo effect, from the Latin for I shall please. So, what's in them? Let's turn to our chemistry expert friends from Reactions.
The perfect placebo has the look, color, and taste of the drug it's being compared to. Ideally, it contains all the inactive ingredients of the real pill, but doesn't include the active drug ingredients. That just leaves the other stuff that make up the bulk of the pills. These might include sugar, that's why placebos are often called sugar pills, cellulose from plants, cornstarch, or yeast, along with other common ingredients that bind the pill together, and others that help it break down in your stomach. Placebos used in big drug trials often contain, well, actually, we don't exactly know what these placebos contain. In a study called What's in a Placebo? Who Knows? Researchers went through over 150 trials involving placebos from 4 medical journals. Only 8% of the trials disclosed the placebo's ingredients. Although no 2 placebos are created equal, some of them get better results. For more on that, here's Joe.
A placebo capsule works better than a placebo tablet. Placebo injections work better than placebo capsules, and placebo machines work better than placebo injections. Even having a nice long talk with a doctor before taking a placebo can increase its effect. Taking 2 placebos is better than taking 1. Expensive placebos stamped with brands work better than cheap generics. Even putting them in fancy packaging or giving them fancy names can add to all of this. Clearly, the effectiveness of a placebo is tied to our perception of how sophisticated the treatment is. Even pill color can make a difference. Placebo sleeping pills work best if they're blue. Red placebos are better as stimulants or pain relievers, and yellow placebos make better antidepressants. I mean, it's pretty wild. One thing with absolutely no therapeutic value can work better than another thing with absolutely no therapeutic value. Some placebo effects are easy to explain. I mean, sometimes people just get better, but we can't just write them off as fake psychological tricks. Placebos can lead to very real chemical changes in our bodies. They can cause the brain to release its own natural pain-killing chemicals. They can even improve symptoms in Parkinson's patients by releasing dopamine. It seems like where placebos do work, our higher-order brain functions are in play, like when they relieve pain, reduce stress, or even change our moods. But they have limits. They can't shrink tumors or cure infections or regrow limbs. These days, before drug companies can sell a new medicine, they have to test it against a placebo. The idea is pretty simple. Give one group of patients a sugar pill or something, and one the real drug. See what happens. Subtract the placebo group's improvement from the other group, and we should see if the drug has a real effect. Simple, right? But strange things are happening these days. Even with all our advancements in science, more and more drugs are failing to pass the placebo test. It's as if the placebo effect is getting stronger. In countries like the United States, drugs can be advertised directly to consumers.
Do you feel healthy, happy, and comfortable? Are you not suffering from headaches, indigestion, or irritability? A lack of symptoms may be a symptom of antohypochondriasis, commonly known as invisible illness disorder, or IID. But now there's Contradictol. Contradictol brings hidden ailments to the surface so they can be treated with other medications. Ask your doctor if Contradictol is right for you.
All that marketing has increased our expectations of what drugs can do, and as a result, some old drugs like Prozac perform worse in placebo tests today than when they first came out. This growing placebo effect is making it harder to figure out which real drugs really work. And just in case you think this couldn't get any weirder, it gets weirder. In one study, patients were even told they were receiving placebos, and they still felt real results. It's likely because the doctors had told them that placebos often have healing effects. Clearly, the critical ingredient in a placebo is expectation. If they ever work, they worked because we expect them to. So much so that a fake drug can also make a patient feel worse if that's what they're expecting. By this point, some of you are probably asking, if placebos are so effective, why not use them as real medicine? Well, prescribing one thing but telling a patient they're taking a different thing is deception. And according to Hippocrates, little white lies like those are not okay. But many doctors think parts of the placebo effect can still be used without turning every practice into a carnival sideshow. I mean, if talking to your patients more can really make them feel better, then why not talk to your patients more? There's a lot we don't understand about how and why we sometimes get better. But in addition to all the amazing medicines we've got, it's nice to know the brain has some quality medical care built in. Next time you get sick, maybe you can find a little relief in knowing that the doctor is always in. Stay curious. Some of us take pills every day in the form of vitamins and supplements.
You are the doctor. You can heal yourself by eating healthy. You don't have to always rely on a fucking doctor. They could help you with a broken bone. But, hey, it is what it is. Placebo effect, expectations, condition. This is the brain. Verbal cues, emotions, system, reveal. Learning, context, cues, motivation. Alright, I'm out.